Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio T and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. There's a special runoff election that's coming up in Gainesville, but more importantly, there's a lot of discussion about what needs to happen in a community where there's morale that's down from the top to employees at all levels of the city. And this community, not unlike many others across the country, face these kind of challenges. There's one of the candidates is joining me today, Miss Cynthia Chestnut. She's going to talk about what she is viewing as a challenge for this community, and then what are her solutions. Stay with us. We will be right back. You don't want to miss this conversation. Please share and come with your questions and answers. Be right back. It is a special runoff election. That election is going to be January 25th, 2022. We got the holidays to go through, but today, Dr. Cynthia Moore Chestnut is our guest today. She is one of the candidates in the runoff election. Matt Howland is her opponent. Dr. Chestnut, thank you so much for taking time during this holiday weekend to be with us and to share with our audience.
My pleasure.
Dr. Chestnut is a woman who is she's not a stranger to the world of politics, becoming the first African American woman to serve on the city commission, the first African American woman to serve as the mayor of Gainesville. She served in the state legislature, chair of the Alachua County Democratic Party, a woman who has been very active in encouraging other people, and in particularly women, to get involved in this political process. Was in retirement. Why in the world did you decide to come out of retirement, Dr. Chestnut?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share with you this afternoon rather. I had to come out of retirement because the African American community had 2 seats on the city commission. So 2 opportunities to get our message heard. And we cannot afford to lose that. And we need a voice at the table. Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker needs help to be there with her. And it has often been said that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I want to be at the table for residents of Gainesville to get their voice heard.
At one point, Gainesville was touted as one of the best cities in the country to live. As if you watch any news, you see the challenges that are happening with the leadership, with people resigning, city manager gone, the mayor asking someone to step down from a seat. And, that's like having children and you tell them to go to their room and they look at you and say, I'm not going. How in the world do we get that much out of control?
Well, I think first we must have a differentiation of roles. The city charter says that the mayor is ceremonial. That means that the mayor is responsible for cutting ribbons, issuing proclamations, appearing at various events for the city. But the mayor does not have the authority, based on our city charter, to hire or fire any of the city employees. Now, there are employees that report directly to the city commission, and those are the charter officers. But one person cannot fire a charter officer. It takes the whole commission to do that. So I think once roles are separated and the charter is followed, that will help to begin to restore some confidence in the commission. But we have a situation now where we need to restore the confidence of the citizens in the city commission, because citizens don't feel welcome to come down to City Hall to share their concerns about their neighborhood, about any other issue that they have on their mind. They don't feel welcomed. We've got to restore the confidence of city employees. Let them know that we value their input, we value their work, and that message must be shared, uh, and not just once a year, but it must be shared all the time. People need to feel worthy, worthy of their contribution.
So, do you think that was the case in 1987 when you first came on as city commissioner? Do you think people felt more welcome?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Gainesville has always been known as a city that invites public participation and citizen input, and that's something that I would like to see us to get back to, having that level of support from the public, that they feel confident, that they feel welcomed to come and to share their views, their feelings, not to be cut off, and not to be disparaged in any way. The city is looking at some new rules and procedures to operate by, and one of the proposals was to reduce the time that citizens are able to speak from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. Another was to turn off the television camera when citizens are speaking, generally. So it, none of that makes people feel warm and fuzzy about government. We've got to get back to people feeling that they have a part. After all, we work for the public. We are elected as their representatives, and we work for them.
So, when you talk about people not feeling welcome to participate in the process, Dr. Chestnut is one of two candidates in a runoff election that will take place next year, January 25th. When you look at the voter turnout for this election, this special election, I think only about 10% of the eligible voters voted. You getting the majority of the vote, yet you have to get 51%. How do you, in this amount of time that you have during this campaigning, how do you encourage people that it's necessary, it's vital, it's critical for them to come and voice their opinions at the polls? Because if they don't want to come and vote, it's understandable they don't feel welcome to speak to those who are elected because they don't feel like they're a part of the process.
Mhm. Well, first, I must applaud the public, because we had, I think, a 13% turnout. The
Okay.
turnout was just as high or higher in some instances in this turnout than it was for a regular election. So it surpassed a regular election. And I think it surpassed a regular election because people want to be heard. People want to know that they are welcomed. Now, how do we get the vote out? We're just going to have to work very hard. We have some complications before us in that we have the holidays, and people are not probably not going to be as in tune to listening to politicians during that family time. So we're going to have to work around the holidays, but still continue to work, continue to campaign.
Dr. Chestnut, the challenges in a community many times are surrounded by the economy, housing needs, crime. When you look at those things, what do you see as the top priority for the city of Gainesville?
Well, I think the top issue that's before them now is affordable housing, and that has come about with the recommendation to put a 6-story building out in the Suburban Heights neighborhood. And the citizens don't want a 6-story building in their neighborhood, nor do they want 220 apartments. And I agree with them. Now, the city is saying that if they put affordable housing out in the suburban area, that this will then help in terms of having the density, and that it will lower the price of housing. So I think the first thing to address there is that I don't believe anyone in East Gainesville has said that we want to move from East Gainesville to West Gainesville for affordable housing. I think if you were to listen to the people, they would tell you that what they want is a living wage. What they want is the opportunity to be heard. They want good schools, good housing, good neighborhoods in their own community. Or they want to have a choice. Let them make the choice as to where they want to live. But at the base of that must be a livable wage.
So if the affordable housing, can it not be built in East Gainesville?
Yes, 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 it can. It can. There's plenty of available land in East Gainesville, and that would make one wonder why aren't they? The city owns land in East Gainesville. Why aren't they going there?
Has that question been posed, and have we gotten any answers about that? Because there are those that I talk to who grew up in Gainesville, and there's always been the mantra of let's improve East Gainesville, and it seems to be slow in coming.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, I think improving East Gainesville is always a good campaign mantra. And then once people are seated, they forget about it until the next election. So I think it's time for us to do something about that. I think working with Commissioner Duncan Walker, we can begin to forge ahead with a plan to actually do something about the economy in East Gainesville, do something about the services in East Gainesville, because obviously if the city commission is interested, now is the time. They have $33 million from the federal government. In the American Rescue Plan, there would be money in the infrastructure plan from President Biden. So this is the time now to actually put some boots on the ground and some teeth in it and do something about East Gainesville.
Dr. Chestnut is a part of a runoff election. This is a city commission seat at large for the city of Gainesville. Armanda says that we need economic development for the community. Thank you very much for watching and your comment. And we can all hear that cry for economic development. And as you said, people say it and then they don't hold elected officials' feet to the fire. What is it that you're proposing that you can say to voters, this is what Cynthia Moore Chestnut is going to do? You can count on that. And then you can call me and find out and help me get it done. Because I think sometimes people do feel like when folks get elected, it's all on them. But you do need the support of those who help to put you in office.
Well, I think, Pamela, one thing we must do is to work to lower the utility bills. Lower the utility bills in East Gainesville. What happens is that with with people signing up to get solar panels or solar energy, it takes them out of the utility stream, and so the bulk of the uh, uh, running of the system then falls on people who are in East Gainesville or people who don't have solar energy
Mm-hmm.
at their home.
Mm-hmm.
So we're bearing the brunt of the utility system. I think we have to find a way to reduce that rate because as I was knocking on doors, I ran into a lady who gets $1,000 a month in Social Security. Her utility bill is $363.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is she supposed to live? That
Wow.
is something that I want to delve into. That is something I want to work to solve. Lowering utility bills is number one. When you lower the utility bills, it gives people more expendable income. She'll have more money in her pocket to shop for groceries or shop for services that she needs. That's one. I think in terms of providing services directly in the neighborhood, we can then begin to see people have much more income. One, I very much want to see the health, the urgent care center with Shands and the University of Florida the city commission and the county commission. That having that service readily available to people in their neighborhood will begin to cut down on some of the economic barriers that they have in trying to find health care. I think an improved transit system in East Gainesville, some of the routes have been cut, but an improved transit system will make it easier for people to get to work, come out of the neighborhood to go to work, find jobs. And I think working more collaboratively, the city working more collaboratively with the school board, Santa Fe College, and the university in terms of training people for jobs. I think we need some kind of agreement with the university as they are building all of these buildings. Maybe we need to look at a special dispensation for people when they hire people in East Gainesville. That's something I want to look at as well.
Let's go back to transportation. Do you think the city has depended too much on the funding from the University of Florida? Because it's my understanding that part of tuition that students pay have to cover a bus pass. Then, so everything is geared toward addressing the needs of the 50,000 students as opposed to the residents of Gainesville. So then, in the off time, residents who need the services of public transportation are left in the rain.
Right. Well, the university, the students are the largest vendor
Mhm.
of the utility services. That is the largest contract that the city has, and that is to provide service for students. I think that the transit system operates at a deficit, as it is. It operates at a deficit. They run about 48 drivers short every day, and there is a real morale problem in the regional transit system. All of that needs to be addressed and should be addressed immediately, because if you're running 48 people short every day, you don't have enough people to cover the routes that you have. Then you are making people who are there, who are coming off a shift, making them work another shift. That puts the safety of the community at risk. So somebody needs to have a little talk and come together to sit down to work out a plan that is going to work. Maybe the regional transit system needs to look at other avenues for generating money. Other avenues. Look at other cities. What do other cities do? What happens in other university cities when university cities have a huge contract? But I think begin to look around and explore for other ideas, because the transit system is a vital part of our city. We need it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you talk about reducing unemployment, and if this is how people are getting to and from work, to and from medical centers, that is critical. Armando says here, how will you reduce out of control spending in the general government, which causes pressure on GRU and the general fund transfer?
I think first we have to make sure that the city uh, is going to adhere to the policy that they have established to reduce the general fund transfer. When the city voted to reduce the general fund transfer, the utility system was operating at $38 million. They plan to reduce, the transfer. They plan to reduce that transfer 2% each year for the next 5 years until it gets down to 27. So in order to address that issue, Armando, they must, I think, begin to look at all of the new departments they've created over the last few years. Do we have a duplication of services? Can some of those services be combined? But administratively, the city has expanded and created new departments, but at the rank and file level, you don't see those services extended that far. You don't see that has been created at that level. So I think reviewing where we are, go through a period of austerity, not hiring any more administrators, but just looking at where we can combine some of the services that we have.
Dr. Cynthia Chestnut is in a runoff election with Matt Howland. It is January 25th. It's for a city council position at large. Dr. Chestnut, it's wonderful to have an at large candidate speak about crime. It seems this community, when I first moved to Gainesville and hear people from larger cities that say Gainesville was considered the sleepy community. Well, it's not sleepy anymore in many ways. And when you look at the challenges of crime in the community, what do you see as the solution?
Well, I think the police chief has come up with a great plan to address crime in our in the city. He's going to bring back the neighborhood crime watch uh, services in each neighborhood, reinstituting that so that people are watching in their neighborhood, and when they see something going wrong, to report it. When they see something going well, to share that as well. He's also going to have a business crime watch, which will be new and I think very, very innovative, very good. He's going to have what he calls violence interrupters, and these are people who are from the neighborhood, of the neighborhood, and can work with the neighborhood in terms of being the eyes and ears of potential crime, and can work with the neighborhood in trying to reduce that crime, whether it's with young people or older people. But they have a voice. I think that the chief is working very much in expanding his whole community policing. That is a model that he has used here, that is now used across the country, but it's one that is effective. And I think his collaboration with community organizations like Moms Demand Action, working with groups and the neighborhood crime groups, can begin to help to reduce crime in our city. It cannot be done by the police department alone. There must be collaboration, and we must work together.
Dr. Chestnut, as I listen to you and talk about these groups, I still don't hear anything about being in the homes, because until we take back our homes and parents feel comfortable parenting and being taught how to parent, we can't take back our streets until we take back our homes. And I think that, I'm the 11th of 13 children, and my daddy took care of the house. Do you think that we have left too much to the other institutions, whether it's the schools, the police, or other organizations, to parent our children? Because after all, that's what we're talking about. These are humans that are doing these crimes,
Well,
and they belong to somebody.
I'm the third of 10 children.
Hmm.
And so I understand exactly what you're saying. Um, Things have changed from the time that your parents were raising you and my parents were raising us. Somehow we have decided, our people have decided, that they can just deposit their children at the schoolhouse door and then leave and not have any responsibility. So I think there needs to be a working together of the school system, the police department, working with the parents. Parents need parenting skills. Our parents are younger in some instances, but working with them, because the responsibility is with the parent. The child's first teacher is a parent. That's the first teacher. So working with them. But I can't stress enough the collaboration effort, because it can't fall on just one body, one person.
Right.
But it goes back, Pam, to economics. When people don't earn a living wage, they don't earn a wage that they can live on, they end up working two jobs. They're not at home. They're out of the home. They're stressed. And they don't have the time. We need to have a living wage, a livable wage for people, so that they can invest the time in their children, the time in their home, in their community.
Armando, thank you very much for your comments. Another comment here that the City Commission very seldom mention Black lives and bodies. And then why are we talking about neighborhood preservation, which too many Black people are whistleblowers? Let's see, where did I miss that here? And racist trophies. I'm not sure if you would explain that more, Armando, but neighborhood preservation and the fact that there's a feeling that the city commission very seldom talk about Black lives. Do you think, as the efforts have gone forth since George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, talk about what happens when um, it's almost as if people have been shamed into not saying that Black Lives Matter
Hmm.
because they put all these others lists, this life matter, this life matter. How do you stand in the gap for the systematic racism that continues to occur, even in the killings that happen among Black people killing Black people? How do we get Black people to know that Black lives matter?
First, let me go back to, I think the first part of his question was on neighborhood preservation. Let me just address that very briefly. Uh, Neighborhood preservation is important because when people buy a house, that is perhaps the largest financial investment they're going to have. In that financial investment, they want that protected. So if you are going to come in and put a 6-story apartment complex in their neighborhood, it does not raise the value of their home. It diminishes the value. That's why neighborhood preservation is important. From east, west, north, and south in Gainesville, that is important. Now, all lives, people want to say all lives matter. Well, everything started with Black Lives Matter. And I think we really need to uh, establish and work with our community to make sure that people know that Black Lives Matter. Um, and how do we do that? I think working with the school system, the police department, um, going out and listening to people, see what it is that they want done in their community. Um, when you show people that you value their presence, that you value what they have to say, I think it improves the whole community.
This election is coming up on the 20th, 27th of January. Between now and then, and thank you, Jesse Moore in Jackson, Tennessee, who is watching, who said that
Oh,
we are, sadly, babies are having babies and are a big part of the problem. Um, Sometimes, Dr. Chestnut, I hear comments and I see things that are happening, and I wonder, when will things really shift? Because I feel like we're talking about some of the things that Adam Clayton Powell talked about, or James Baldwin, or um, Carter G. Woodson in his writings. How do we really start to see? Because it seems like we make some improvements and then we have some setbacks.
hmm. Well, I think it goes back to responsibility. And as I said, parents are the first teachers. Parents are the first teachers. Empowering parents, but you must empower parents with a livable wage. When you give them a livable wage, they can be home, not stressed out, to help their children with homework, participating in the school activities, what have you. But we must gird up the parental role. But that can't happen if you're working two jobs. It just will not happen.
Yeah, you're this seat is vacant because of a commissioner who said that it just got to be too much. How are you prepared to step into this role and help make a difference? Um, Armando also says the majority of the city commission does not value Black lives. How are you prepared to stand in that space? and stand in who you are as an African American, as a woman, as a mom, as a leader, pushing agendas that are good for the whole, but may be judged because you're Black and you're a woman?
Well, I think first of all, my experience. I come to the table with a wealth of experience, which means I don't start, I will not go into the position uh, looking for on the job training. I know how to collaborate. I know how to access the resources. I know how to get things done. Um, I think that uh, I can make my voice heard because I've had to do that before. The other thing is that in the summer there will be four openings, four seats open on the city commission. People will have the opportunity to vote, not just in the city, but they're going to this will be we will the commission race will be on the regular ballot. And what I mean there, if there will you will have a larger participation. I think, Pam, you were talking about low participation, but putting it on the primary ballot is going to bring lots of people out to vote. There will be four seats. People must make their voice heard. And we must hold politicians accountable for what they say they're going to do. Um, they tend to come to our churches during the campaign season, and then we don't see them again. They tend to make promises about what's going to happen, but let's hold them accountable. And that's something that the 4A's tried to do as well. The African American Accountability Alliance. They would call the politicians back after a year in office and say, "This is what you said you were going to do. Where are you in achieving that? Where are you on the report card in getting things done?" So I think that that's going to be very, very important. Accountability, paying attention to the upcoming election, and voting people in that will represent the voices of the community.
This is a citywide election that's going to be January 25th. When will early voting start?
January 14th,
So early
15th, and
voting
16th. Mhm.
early voting will be January 14, 15, 16, and the actual election will be on the 25th.
Correct.
Well, I really, really thank you very much for sharing with us, and perhaps before the election, you can come back and talk to us again. It is so important that people vote. So, Dr. Chestnut, again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, and thank you for your questioners as well. Thank you to your questioners as well.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching this recorded. I do encourage you to share this, and you have an opportunity to even post your questions in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you, and we will look forward to the other candidate in this race, Matt Howland, joining us for your to give you an opportunity to hear from him as well. In the meantime, Dr. Chestnut, if I don't see you, have a wonderful holiday season.
Same to you and your family. A
Thank
blessed
you.
season.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for watching. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. Make it a fantastic